Find the polynomial f of x from the given data summarized in the table. So we are given this table. And hence, we are to find the f of 4 from the obtained polynomials and compare to the table. So, we have x, we have 0, and we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, 5, and we have 6. And don't forget, we have y here, and we have y. I have 3, 5, 17, and then I have 95, 173, and then I have the last but not the least, which is 285. So then I have the difference of y, and then I have the difference square y, and therefore I have the difference cube of y. So as you can see, those values of x, see them, you can see from 0 to 6, and also the values of this y, you can see from the table from 3, 5, 17, and 45, and 95. So how can we find dy and this d square y, and therefore this del cube y? The first thing that you are going to do, you have to subtract 5 and 2, got 2. Also subtract 17 minus 5, you will got 12, and also 45 minus 17, you got 28, and also 95 minus 45 will get what? 50. Also 173 minus 95, I'll get 78. Also 285 minus 173, so I'll get 112. So also I'll say 12 minus this, I'll get 10. Also this minus this, I'll get 16. Also this minus this, I'll get 22. Also 78 minus this, I'll get 28. Also this minus this, I'll get 34. And also this minus this, I'll got 6. This minus this, I'll got 6. So then I'll say this will be 0, 0, 0. Someone might ask, why did I put 0, 0, and 0? The reason is that this is polynomial, and whenever if I add d power 4 of y here, so at the end, if I subtract this and this, I must to get 0. So since I will get 0, so there is no need of subtracting all this. So I hope you get it. So the next thing that you are going to know is that the general form for the polynomial, it is what? It is f of x, which is the same thing as ax to the power of what? To the power of 3, x to the power of what? Of 3, and also plus bx squared plus cx plus what? Plus d. So this is the general form of what? Of the polynomial. So the next thing that you are going to do, we can use the forward difference formula for what? For a polynomial. So how can we use the formula? But before then, you have to take note that from what it says, hence find the f of what? F of 4 from the obtained polynomials and compare to that table. So as you all know, the fourth, which is 95. So you have to take note of this, and don't forget to write all this difference that I already write here, because I'm going to delete it and we are going to continue with our solving. So the forward difference formula for the polynomial is what? F of x, it is the same thing as what? As f of 0, and also plus x of this f of 0 plus x by 2 factorial, and we have f of 0 plus, we have x here, x minus 1, and also we have x minus 2, x minus 2 divided by 3 factorial, up to infinity. So from our table, if you could record from the table, f of 0, it is the same thing as 3, and therefore the df of what? Of 0, it is the same thing as 2, and also the d square of what? Of this f of 0, it is the same thing as 10, and therefore the d power 3 of f of 0, it is the same thing as what? And at 6. If you could recall, the values that we are putting here is that, if you could recall, from what? From the table that I drew, we have numbers in straights. We have 0, we have 3, we have 2, we have 10, and we have 6. So those are the numbers that we insert. We insert 3, we insert 2, we insert 10, and we insert what? 6. So you have to take note of that. Those numbers that I found, f of 0 and the f of 0 and d square f of 0 and d cube f of what? F of 0. So you have to take note of where did I find those values of 3, 2, 10, and what? And 6. So therefore I'm going to substitute those f of 0, df, and those 4 values that I put, which is 3, 2, 10, and what? And 6. So I'm going to substitute them in what? In this formula that I write. So the f of x should now be equals to the f of 0. If you could recall, if you take the naught, it is 3. So 3 plus x, I'll have x, and the f of 0 also, it is what? It is 2, and therefore plus x. Don't forget I have x minus what? Minus 1, and multiplied by what? By d square, which is what? Which is the d square f of 0, which is 10. And then don't forget I have 2 factorial, and 2 factorial is the same thing as what? As 2. So then I have to say plus this. So I have to substitute. So therefore I will say x into what? Into x minus 1, and therefore I will say x minus what? Minus 2 multiplied by 6, and then I have to divide it by what? Because d cube of f of 0, so this is the d cube, this is the d cube f of 0, and then I have to divide by the 3 factorial, which is what? Which is 6. So you have to wait and see how can I simplify this. So therefore this f of x should now be equals to, as you can see, I will have 3. If I say 2 multiplied by this x, I'll end with only 2x, and then I have to say plus. So this 2 will go in 10 divided by 2, it will give me 5. And don't forget, if I say x multiplied by x, I'll get x squared, and if I say x multiplied by 1, and I'll get what? X. And don't forget I have 5. So this is the same thing as saying I have 5x, and also I have x minus what? 1. So therefore I will say this is 5x squared minus what? Minus 5x. So if I should factor out, I will say, let me say 5 outside, and I will say x squared minus what? Minus x. So I can factor it. So therefore I will say 5 into what? X squared, and therefore I will say minus x, and therefore plus what? Plus x squared minus x, and also x squared minus what? Minus x, and also x what? X minus 2. Yeah, I hope you get it. So as you can see from here, this 6 will go with this 6. This multiplied by this, I'll get x squared, and therefore this multiplied by this, I'll get x times 1, I'll get only x, and therefore I'll keep down this x minus 2. So you have to take note of that. So the next thing I have to say, this will be equal to, my 3 is there, and also 2x is there. So I have to expand this bracket, and I will have 5x squared minus what? Minus 5x plus, I have to say this times this, I'll get x raised to the power of 3. This times this, I'll get 2x squared. So minus 2x squared. This multiplied by this, I'll get negative x squared. So minus what? X squared. And this multiplied by this, I'll get positive 2x. So I'll now say plus 2x. Yeah, so this is the same thing as saying I have 3x plus 2x plus 5x squared minus 5x plus, I'll say x cubed. This and this, if I add them, I'll get negative what? 3x squared. 3x squared plus what? Plus 2x. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I have to go through the like terms. The first thing that I'm going to do, I have this x cubed. So it has the highest power. So I'll first keep it down because I'm going to arrange it. Don't forget, I have 5x squared here, and also I have 3x squared. So I have to factor them. So this is the same as saying plus what? Open bracket 5 minus what? Minus 3. And therefore multiplied by this x squared. Because if you said this multiplied by what? By 5, at the end you get x squared 5, and this multiplied by this negative 3x, at the end you will get negative 3x squared. So I hope you get what I do. So the next thing that I'm going to do here is that if you are confused, you can pause the video and try it yourself. So the next thing I'm going through for the x, but there is one thing that I need you to know. I think we don't have x here. There is no x here, it is only 3. Please, I'm sorry for that. It is only 3. I just noticed it now. So therefore I have to say, for those that has only x, I have 2x, and also I have this 2x, I have 5x. There are the one that has only x, so I'll start with the 2, positive 2, and 5, which is what? I have to say the 5, it is negative. So minus 5, the 2 is positive. I have to say plus what? Plus 2. And therefore I will say x. What next? The next is the 3. So I have to say plus 3. So the next thing that I'm going to do here is that I have x cubed. So I will say this x cubed plus what? For x squared, 5 minus 3 is the same thing as 2. So I will say 2x squared. And also I will say 2 minus 3, it is, okay, sorry, 2 minus 5, it is the same thing as minus 3. Minus 3 plus 2, it is the same thing as negative 1, which is negative x. If you multiply negative 1 by x, so then I have to say plus this 3. So the next thing, I will use the polynomial. That formula that I wrote before, I'm going to use it, which says, I think, f of x, if I shouldn't forget it, x, ax of cube, I think, yes, plus bx squared plus cx plus cx, and also plus d. So the next thing that I'm going to say, I have to say, instead of f of x, I will say f of 4, because it says hence f of 4 from the polynomials compare to what? To that table. So I will say this is equals, as you can see, this, it is almost the same thing as this. So I have to substitute the value of what? 4 in this x. So I will now say 4 power 3 plus 2 4 squared, and also minus 4 plus what? Plus 3. So what should I go into again? So at the end, I'll get what? 95. So wow, as you can see, also from the table, this 4, it is